I am going to do a experience report on probably sildenafil citrate. Yeah, I reckon I'll do one on sildenafil citrate. Ooh. Sorry about that. So yeah, sildenafil citrate, otherwise known as Viagra to most people, is a PDE5 inhibitor that is used as an aphrodisiac in males and stimulates blood flow to the penis. I'm feeling a silly mood today. So, yeah, anyway, I've had Viagra quite a few times in my life. I made another video about aphrodisiacs in general. And, yeah, I've used it to counteract, say, what's known as stim dick, where you take somebody's stimulant, hard to get yourself going down there. That being said, if you battle through it, it can be done, and once it's done, it's going to be there for a while. I've also had it from times where I've been really, really dehydrated and really sort of underslept as well. And also for people I just have no interest in, but they've kind of just come round, or I've been round, and I don't know, I just feel bad saying no, really. Just makes them feel shit about themselves sometimes. But anyways, without any further ado, I'll go into these experiences. So there's no low or high dose experiences with this one, because I've only had the same amount every time, just a standard Viagra, not a weaker Viagra, stronger Viagras, generics, and yeah, I found that they were quite effective in helping to stimulate an erection, helping to keep an erection, feed a good one, and in general, yeah, fairly effective. Not necessarily as good or worse than regular sex. I noticed a different kind of stimulation from regular sex, whereby I felt like I had a lot less feeling in my genitals than I would normally do, say if I weren't using not libido enhancing but erectile enhancing drugs. I found that there was just just less stimulation in the whole of that area, really. I felt like my balls had a little bit more stimulation, my testicles had a little bit more weirdness to them, per se. I find that, yeah, it's quite effective. I mean, it takes about 10-20 minutes to start working. It takes about half an hour before it works noticeably, and then about an hour in, it's really fucking working. Like, a lot of people are saying that it's not an aphrodisiac because all it does is stimulate blood flow. That's true in the actual sense. I mean, it doesn't give you lust or libido, and apparently, if you're not inherently interested in the other person, you have no sexual interest in them, you still won't be able to get an erection or maintain erection. I don't think that's true. From my personal experience, just touching down there for just a small amount of time, even if I'm wholly disinterested in the other person, has been enough to manage a really fucking good erection. I found that the erections lasted a lot longer. I found that after ejaculating, I was pretty much ready to go after a minute or so. Normally it'd probably take me 6-7 minutes probably. So I found that the times in between were just a lot quicker. I found that it enhanced the amount of time that I could have sex for. Say I normally probably, well, I guess there's no normally. I mean, sometimes it's 10 minutes. It could be a 2-minute quickie, just intense. And I guess normally you'd be looking at, with a lovemaking session, minimum of 20 minutes, anywhere up to an hour and a half, 2 hours. But I found with this chemical particularly, that it would average to be about 2 hours 15, maybe longer than that. But generally, yeah, generally about 2 hours, 2.5 hours kind of thing. Somewhere in between there is what you're looking at from a session of Viagra. Partly because it lacks the same stimulation, so it's I find it harder to ejaculate because there's less actual physical sensation. I found that it made me feel different to usual ejaculation release. Like, I didn't get the full body feel, I didn't feel tingles through my spine, I didn't feel as much sensation, but I felt more, I don't know, kind of weird masculinity. I felt stronger when I did it. I felt fitter when I did it. I felt more primal in a way, but I felt a lot less intellectually and emotionally stimulated by the experience. So yeah, it's not like it was worse or better. It was just very different. This is just my experience though, so don't take this as the gospel or anything. I found that I encountered some problems with it. None in the erection department, none in the department of actually messing with my sexual function. Enhanced it in some ways because it's just there, like, it's great for the other person. But I found that it made me feel really slightly strange in my back. I felt really slight pains in my back from time to time while I was on it. I felt like the whole of my back was just kind of like just not as strong as normal, and I felt like my neck muscles weren't as strong or weren't working properly. I found that once the Viagra had subsided, the effects had subsided, this pretty much went with it. I also feel quite tired when Viagra wears off for some reason. I don't feel tired after sex whilst on Viagra though. Not sure why that is. I feel just a little bit like, oof. And then, yeah, I'm basically physically feeling fucking fit and capable pretty much immediately after that. It's just that when the Viagra itself drops, I just feel strange. So yeah, my conclusion would be that Viagra is definitely an effective erectile dysfunction chemical. For me personally, it seems to work well whether I have sexual interest in another person or not. So in those terms, I guess it is an aphrodisiac. I mean, whilst it doesn't increase my libido, before the act, just having such a giant erection kind of increases my libido anyway. And because I'm ready for it, it doesn't matter how much interest I have in the other person. Once I begin the experience, it starts to become enjoyable generally. I found that yeah, it was a fairly quick acting aphrodisiac. I mean, it's not any 5-minute cure or anything, but 20 minutes, 30 minutes in isn't bad as far as I'm concerned for drug effects. I found that the only real bad side effects were the lack of sensation and just the weirdness and the weakness in my back and neck. Not something I'd like to repeat, really, that experience, but it's sometimes worth it for what it is. I found that it wasn't better or worse to finish sex as you would, or to finish the ejaculation, not necessarily the whole sex act. I just felt like it was a completely different body high, and also I felt like it made me tired after I'd finished on the chemical. So yeah, for me personally, I'd recommend using it sometimes when on stimulants, but I think it's probably quite dangerous because it has a strange effect on your heart, being a PDE5 inhibitor. So I'm not sure if that's good advice to myself there. I'd say it's definitely good on a day where I don't have much energy, and useful for if I have no interest in another person, but I feel like I might as well give them a piece to, I don't know, satisfy their needs, or just because there's nothing else to do. I mean, why not? We're all basic animals, really. So yeah, that was my experience report on Sildenafil citrate, otherwise known as Viagra. Thank you for listening. Blech.